Hi everyone, my name is Adam McIntosh from the RAND Group, and today I want to take you through the Payables Agent for Microsoft Dynamics Business Central. Now, I'm going to start off today by giving you an overview of what the agent is, as well as some prerequisites if you want to start using the agent. I'll take you through some configuration, as well as best practices that we've seen from some of our customers that have already started to use the agent in Business Central. And then I'll end off today with a quick demonstration of the agent live processing some invoices. So what is the agent? Well, quite simply, it automates entering your accounts payable invoices. Now, it does enter them. It does not post them. So that's an important distinction that I like to tell folks. It uses Azure Document Intelligence and Copilot to read invoices and then process them into Business Central. It reads those invoices from a mailbox, so an email box, and then again, it creates those purchase invoices in BC. So if you want to start using the agent, how do you start? Well, there's a couple things that you're going to need to do first. Number one, you need to make sure you have a billing plan. All of the agents within Business Central use what are called tokens, and I'm going to get to the cost of those tokens in a minute. And we often find the Payables agent is the first agent that a lot of our customers are using. So you want to make sure you've got that billing plan set up. To do so, you need to access your admin center. So within Business Central, there's a gear icon in the top right-hand corner. Select that, select admin center from the menu. And in the very bottom of your admin center, there should be a linked Power Platform environment where you can set a billing plan. There is a wizard that it kind of walks you through in that process. But if you don't know what you're looking for, you can get a little bit lost. So again, you're looking for the linked Power Platform environment at the bottom of your admin center. Second, you want to use a dedicated mailbox to receive all those invoices. You don't want to use a personal email because the system's going to create a task for each email that it processes. And last but not least, you're going to want to make sure you've got defined business processes. Not all organizations have those defined business processes, but you want to make sure your payables is a solidified process. So as an example, you want to make sure vendors are sending their invoices as PDF attachments to that mailbox. You want to make sure your posting groups are solidified. So when invoices go in, the system doesn't need to guess at what the posting groups are. You want to make sure you've got any back-end workflows like approvals that are associated with that invoice entry to be in place as well. And then if you've got any critical fields from third-party apps, you want to make sure that those have been identified so that we can set those as part of the setup of the application. So I mentioned off the top, you need to have a billing plan. The cost of the agent to process invoices actually is very affordable. It's 50 tokens for the invoice header, 5 tokens per line. So as an example, if you've got, a 5-line invoice, that's going to be 75 tokens. If you're on a pay-as-you-go plan, 75 tokens is 75 cents USD. You can get tokens in bulk for a little bit cheaper. So you can buy 25,000 tokens as an example for $200 USD. But so your rough pricing on, a 5-line invoice or a standard invoice is about 75 cents. And again, it does that all automatically for you. That said, within production environments, Microsoft is giving some free credits. So it gives roughly enough credits for about 10 invoices a month in production only. So if you do want to start using and trialing the agent, you can leverage some of those credits without incurring a lot of additional cost. Okay. Configuring the agent, I'll show you the configuration in my demonstration, but I want to show just all the setup windows, and it's literally on the page right now. You'll see that green PA icon in the top right hand corner of your home page within Business Central. If you click that, there should be an activation button or gear icon that allows you to then get to this window and activate the agent. In terms of setup, you really just need a mailbox. So you need a mailbox and you need to activate the agent. You can configure additional fields. So there's on the far right hand side there's a button that says to configure additional fields. And that is in case you want the agent to consider, any custom fields or any important fields from potentially third-party applications. If you haven't already, you definitely need to allow data movement on your Copilot agent capabilities page. So that is one more step in case you haven't configured that as well. But otherwise, the configuration of the agent is very, very simple. It can be done in under 60 seconds and just really requires that dedicated mailbox. And again, the billing plan. The billing plan is one I'll encourage people to make sure they got set up. So as you are setting up the agent and as you're starting to use the agent, a couple items that I'm going to recommend. Number one, it's only considering PDF attachments that go into that dedicated mailbox. So you want to make sure that you are receiving PDFs from your vendors. And if for whatever reason you receive more than 10 PDFs on a single email, just know that it's got a maximum capacity of processing 10 invoices from a single email. Within Business Central, if you are on version 28.1, you'll also actually see a option within the purchase invoice window to create a new invoice from PDF. I think it will literally say new from PDF. And so that also leverages the agent. So if you just want to trial it without setting up the mailbox, you can use that new from PDF button, just upload a PDF, and like the agent, it'll upload it into the system and you can see how the automation works. Next, correct errors. Now this is probably the most important because some of the initial loads of invoices may not always be perfect. And some people get discouraged because the first time they use the agent, it's, maybe only 50 or 75% correct. Well, as you correct its entries, it will become better over time. It's going to keep learning. So it does that learning at a company level. I like to highlight that. So a lot of our customers have multiple organizations or multiple companies within Business Central. So that learning is at a company level, but as you correct it, it's going to get better and better and better over time. So just know that. Agent actions are managed on the right-hand pane of Business Central, and you'll see, some thumbs up, some thumbs down icons. Some people like to use those. That's different from actually correcting the errors. What that does is it gives feedback to Microsoft and it aids in their development. So if you're finding there is maybe some, good or bad things happening, just make sure you're using that feedback, thumbs up or thumbs down icon. Next, make sure you obtain all the minor releases from Microsoft. So again, this is configured in your admin center. That's from the gear icon in the top menu pane within Business Central. You can schedule to receive only major updates or major and minor updates. I often recommend that customers make sure they're getting the minor updates because Microsoft is constantly updating these agents. So if you're waiting for major releases, that could be 6 months down the road and you're not getting the latest functionality from Microsoft in these agents. So yeah, I definitely recommend ensuring you're getting minor releases. If you need help with that, our support team is happy to assist. Next, who has access to these agents? Well, it's super users and those that are actually processing purchase invoices. In the latest documentation, it outlines that users that have accessed purchases or purchase invoices in the last 6 months will get access to then configure the agent. So in case you're wondering who gets access, that's who gets access. Usually most of our customers will have a super user configure, and again, we can help you configure if needed. You can only configure one agent per company. That agent will run 24/7, 365, but it will only be a single agent per company. So just make sure if you do have invoices that might go to various places that you have adjusted your workflows. And then last but not least, within Business Central, you can actually audit how much that agent is costing you. There's an agents window where you can click on view consumption data, and it'll give you how much data that the agent has actually consumed. So with all those tips and tricks, let's actually log in and take a look at this agent and see how it processes transactions. So here I am in Business Central, and the first thing I want to show you is just the environment. So I'm in my sandbox here. This is environment 28.1. If I drill into this, you can see at the very bottom, I've got my linked Power Platform environment, and that's got a billing policy that's been assigned to it. So that's a critical step. If you don't have that billing policy set up, none of this will work. We've got a quick video on our YouTube page that we'll link down below here as well that helps walk you through that setup. It's very quick, very simple, but without the billing policy setup, none of this will run. So from there, I want to show my Payables Agent setup as well. If your agent's not set up, you can click this gear icon here. That brings you to the setup window. Obviously, it has to be activated. You've got to give it a mailbox. Now, this mailbox is critical. Everything flows from here. I've set this up as my personal email. That's not best practice. It's best to have a generic email box and have everything flow through that generic email, simply because it's going to create a task for every time it receives an email. So you definitely want to use a generic email. Work with your IT team to set up that generic email box, such as payables@yourcompanyname.com, and have your vendors flow documents through there. Okay. From there, there's really not much more to configure. There's a couple additional settings where we can say, hey, we want to review the email or request someone to review the email before it creates a draft of the document. So that's possible. For the purposes of the demo, I'm going to avoid that just because it just adds an extra step in the process. We can also configure additional fields, and by that, it's going to look for those additional fields on the PDF that it reviews to try and map those. Okay. So I've just kept a baseline configuration. I've literally just turned it on, gave it an email box, told it to monitor, and it's got a billing plan. And so we're ready to go here. A couple other things I do want to look at first before we actually demo the actual processing of documents is the agent card. So first I'm going to pull up my agents. And you can see I've got my Payables Agent here. It's got permissions just like a user. So if you do have third-party applications that are impacting your payables process, your agent's definitely going to need access to whatever rights that application requires. So just remember that your agents are treated like a user, and we have an agent card as such. The other thing I want to show is agent tasks, and you'll see that I've already processed a few tasks through this Payables Agent. But if I scroll all the way to the right side here, you'll actually see the tokens that have been consumed by this agent to date. I like to look at it in this view because it gives me all the details of exactly what's been processed when and when it's been processed. But this gives you a good breakdown of where your costs are coming from. And you can see it's been about 65 cents per each of my examples. And the next couple examples I'm going to show you today will be very similar. Okay. So that said, let's jump in and take a look at actually processing documents here. So as you can see, the tasks for my agent are listed on the right-hand panel of the screen. If that panel happens to get closed, I can re-enable it by clicking on the Payables Agent icon. Now in this case, there's a number 1 in the top right hand corner of that icon that indicates to me there is a task for my review. So in this case, I've received an invoice from a vendor. It's processed that. It wants me to review it. So in this case, it opens the purchase document draft window. From here, I can see there's 3 items that it's concerned about, and they're highlighted down below with the red icon here. And those are just because it has low confidence in what it's loaded. So in this case, it's put some descriptions in here. It's picked items 1007. It seems about right. That says 1007 straight back chair. That's correct. The next one says window film. Let's see. That is the right item for window film. And then the last one's golden chair. And so the reason those are a little bit different on each line is because that's actually what was sent to us. And we can see what was sent to us by clicking on that view PDF button. So you can see here, that was the way the vendor loaded the items on the document. Every vendor will have different ways of displaying their invoice. Some might have taxes on the line. Some might have taxes on the header. There's various ways that invoices can be displayed. And so we just have to make sure and validate what the agent has loaded in. So I'm good with that at this point. It's got the proper items loaded in there. I can take a look at the rest of the lines. Everything looks to be okay. The totals align. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to continue. Now, just before I do, I want to highlight here that you can give the agent feedback. So if everything looks good, maybe you don't need to give much feedback, but in the event that something was inaccurate, you definitely want to give instructions to that agent so that it will learn for next time. The important thing with the agent is volume ultimately. So you want to pump a large volume of documents through this. The more documents it sees, the better it's going to get at pattern recognition, and the better it's going to be able to select where it should allocate costs. That said, if there are specific instructions that I have for this document, I definitely want to load those in here. In this case, everything looked good, so I'm going to go ahead and continue. So I'll continue. It's going to start updating that task and processing the document. So you can see here, the task is in progress. So I'm going to go back and it just says running underneath that task. Okay. Now I'm going to go to my purchase invoice window and I'm going to show you one other item that is important. There is a new from PDF button on the Copilot icon, but also if I go to new, I can click new from PDF. It has the same action where it'll let me upload or drag and drop a PDF in there. So I'm going to drop an additional document in there. And what that's going to do is it's going to be processed by our payables agent. So just like if it were received via email, you can process documents this way. So if you don't have your email set up, this is a good starting point for processing documents via the payables agent and pushing that volume through that we talked about. Okay, so this is just another document. It's very similar to the last one. I'm just going to pull it up on the screen here. So there you have it. I can show it here in a second, but the one thing I did want to go back to is our last document that was loaded in. So this was the one that we reviewed. That was our sample. So it's created the invoice. Yes, you do still have to potentially update some other values, but it's taking care of the heavy lifting. It's read the document, it's processed it, and everything is entered for you, which is the real big time savings. So I'm going to exit from here. I'm going to go back and I'm going to audit my other tasks. All right, through the power of editing, we're going to cut out the waiting time it took for that to process, because it does take about 30 seconds for the document to run through. But you can see here, just like in my prior example, it's uploaded to the purchase document draft, and it's asking me to review once again. Hopefully that was a good overview of the Payables Agent for you. Thank you again for your time. If you'd like assistance with the setup or configuration of the agent, please feel free to reach out to us via info@randgroup.com, and our team would be happy to assist. Thanks, everyone.